My female 22 boyfriend, male 31 of 3 years, won't stop using dating apps. I think it's time for me to leave. My partner has been on and off Tinder since we met. I've been very clear that it bothers me, but he has always justified it as him wanting an ego boost. We had a large dispute over it a few months ago, during which I threatened to leave, and I honestly believe that was the last of it. Really, it's rather naive. I should also mention that his ex-girlfriend left him for the same reason. I feel like for hoping he'd ever change. When I woke up this morning, I discovered he'd been using my phone and his email was still signed in. I noticed he'd received an email from an app called Hinge. To give you a sense of the kind of software, the description read, "The app that was built to be removed." Great. My stomach sank immediately. I signed on using his phone number, and he's put up profile photographs of himself that I shot when we've been out on dates. We'll get along if you eat Chinese and have a dog, if you're goofy and comfortable and overshare, he says in his description. He has also specified that he only wants to be paired with Hindus/Muslims. I'm a white British man. I sensed something was wrong yesterday, but I couldn't figure out what. He was behaving strangely, and it was making me nervous. He had the audacity to inform me that I was probably simply hormonal. The worst part is his response to everything. He heard me weeping, seemed to be worried, and then saw me with his phone, at which time he just it from me and went back to bed. That was approximately an hour ago, and the only contact I've had with him since then has been him requesting me to open the bathroom door, not to check on me, but because he wanted to urinate. At this time, this post seems to be a prank. I'm clearly wounded by the fact that he's on this thing, but I'm more surprised by his complete lack of shame or reaction to my outrage. I'm so upset, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm so ashamed by the situation that I don't want to tell my family/friends how he's treated me, and I can't even speak to him about it since he's refusing to address anything that's wrong. He's still in bed. I'm at a loss on what to do. He's destroyed my self-esteem to the point that I feel I can't live without him, but I know I can't. Should I even attempt to speak to him, or should I simply walk away? I took screenshots of everything and was about to email them to his family when I decided against it. The truth is, if I just leave, he will face no penalties. He gets what he wants: the ability to go on random dates without feeling guilty. It just feels so unfair that I'm the one who is grieving while he gets to party all the time. I know the bulk of responses will advise me to go, and I can't fight with you on that. But how can I satisfy my need for closure revenge? Edit update. So within an hour after finishing this essay, I packed my possessions and myself, loaded them into my car, and headed out of town. Everything seemed impossible since there was so much material and I was a complete mess, but I managed to complete it in the end. More than anything else, he was just laying in bed pretending to sleep the whole time, which infuriated me more than anything. I got the idea that he couldn't give a about anything. Despite the fact that we've been living together for 2 years, I made the decision to acquire my own student apartment in September. Clearly, I was aware that things weren't going well at the time, and thank heavens I made that decision because now I have a place to call home. While I was ready to get into my car and drive away, he texted me and said, "I'm not going to insult you by asking you to stay or come back, but could you please leave the keys to the house?" I replied that I would. My anger and anguish were heightened by the fact that they had taken one more shot at me. There was no apology or goodbye, just a simple request to leave the keys. That's all I've got for the time being. So I'm now sitting in bed with my possessions piled high in bags all around me, reading through the comments, and have been doing so for the last couple of hours. To summarize, your words of support were much appreciated, and even the harsh opinions were welcomed since they acted as a wake-up call and a kick in the pants to get my life back on track. Sorry that this relationship has come to an end. I'm disappointed that it happened in the manner that it did, but I'm also relieved. I'm free to do anything I want right now, including working on my self-esteem issues. The next day, I'll be traveling down to see my mother and the rest of my family. I haven't seen them since Christmas, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. I'm still filled with wrath, but I'm determined to go on nonetheless. I'm not going to waste any more of my time on him anymore. Any recommendations for my newly single life or for getting him out of my thoughts would be Much appreciated. Story 2. My 26 male brother 29 male is married to and cheating on my best friend 26 female, and I'm conflicted if I should say anything. Pam, my closest friend, and my brother, Jim, married 2 years ago. Jim is cheating on Pam with a college buddy of mine I just found. On her Snapchat, said buddy uploaded a photo of my brother's back resting in bed with her. I'm sure most people assumed it was just any random person, but Jim has mine and my younger sister's names tattooed on his left shoulder. I approached him and demanded an explanation, and he confessed to having an affair for the last 2 months. I was shocked, but I chose not to disclose because of Jim's pleas. I've been torn between remaining silent and speaking out. My father was absent from my upbringing, and my mother was there but had some mental health concerns that rendered her, to put it mildly, unable to be totally attentive. Jim took the initiative. He was my father for the most of my life. He virtually raised my sister and myself. I honestly believe that if he hadn't been in my life, I would have died of starvation or ended myself on the streets. I don't believe I can betray him in that way. Pam, on the other hand, is my best buddy. We've known each other since we were 17 years old. Pam would inform me if my girlfriend was cheating on me, and she was aware of it. She has a right to know what Jim is up to. But I'm not sure whether I'll be able to out Jim like this. What am I supposed to do? Update. Jim was given a second opportunity by me, and I decided to do so. In a phone conversation with him, I admitted that I couldn't keep this a secret any longer. It was tearing me apart from the inside out. I couldn't come up with anything more to say. I told him that I loved him, and that I couldn't allow him to treat someone else I cared about as if they were a member of my family in this manner. He begged with me to give it another thought. He didn't make any effort to convince me of any point of view, but he did express the desire for his younger brother to just be there for him, which he described as basic. I informed him I was unable to complete the task. I inquired as to what he would desire if it were me or our younger sister who were the ones who were cheated on. He said that he was aware that what he was doing was wrong, but that he was simply experimenting on himself. I told him that this was not an acceptable reason. That evening, I informed him that he had until that evening to notify Pam, and that if he didn't, I would do it on his behalf. After that, we got off the phone, and I sat there waiting. I called Pam around 11 p.m. and had an usual conversation with her over the phone. When I inquired as to how things were doing with my brother, she assured me that everything was fantastic and that they were discussing the possibility of having children. I couldn't believe my brother had pushed me to do this, but I knew I had to inform her about it. That is exactly what I told her. She was enraged and refused to accept my explanation. However, I was able to show her a snapshot of my brother sleeping in someone else's bed, which was quite helpful. She then told me that she needed to discontinue the phone conversation at that point. It's been a long time since I've heard from my brother. Pam, on the other hand, has decided to end her relationship with him as of today. So I believe it is a positive development. She will no longer be subjected to such abuse by him, and I will be there to support her. Given that my brother hasn't responded to any of my phone calls or texts, I'm not sure when we'll have another conversation. At the very least, I still have Pam and my sister.